Hello everyone, welcome to episode 20 of me learning game development. It is after midnight. It is actually already, whatchamacallit? It's actually already almost 1 a.m. And yes, I know it's not Saturday anymore, it is Sunday now. And Sunday is supposed to be my off day, but I'm just going to record Saturday's episode right now. And I'm going to make it short because I do need to go to sleep. Yes, I got back home from work somewhat late, and I didn't have time to record the episode earlier, so I'm just gonna record an episode now. I'm just gonna do a little bit of learning. I'm just gonna get some basics down, I'm just gonna learn some basics. So let's just get right into it.
Video tutorial run your extra discounts. The % off the first over 2 essential tools and 50 courses. Use the coupon code below to get an extra 20% off the first year of your Sender subscription on top of any existing site-wide discounts. The offer is valid for the first 50 subscribers, so make sure to use your coupon today to start your game dev adventure. So, in the spirit of learning the basics of the engine and giving you an overview of how you can start using it to make things, I've put together the most basic game I could imagine. Think of it like food without salt. It doesn't have much flavor, but it does have a player, enemies, moving platforms, collectible coins, and most importantly, it should get you familiar with the engine in no time. Also, we'll be working in 2D, but another really cool thing about Godot is that it's very easy to transfer 2D concepts to 3D. So don't worry, if your dream game is in 3D, most of what you learn here is going to directly apply. As for
It's easy to transfer 2D to 3D, really?
programming, Godot uses its own scripting language called GDScript. It's pretty fast and easy to use, but still quite powerful. We'll do a bit of programming in this video to get you started, but the main focus is really to get familiar with Godot as a whole and to quickly get a game up and running. Because of this, I don't expect you to fully understand all the code you see. Feel free to write after me or just lean back and observe. Our next video will be about learning to program in GDScript. Alright, I promised you food without salt, so let's get cooking.
Sure.
Now to make our delicious game, we need ingredients. We need things like sprites, models, textures, and sounds. These are called assets, and a game engine like Godot is not so much...
Eggplant, bro. I hate eggplant so much, like it's unreal. Well, it's not unreal. It's Godot, haha. No, it makes sense. It actually makes sense why I hate eggplant. You know, it's poisonous if you don't cook it. Why? Why would you eat it, bro? Why would you eat it if it's poisonous when you don't cook it? Like, you can eat raw tomatoes. It just doesn't, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I also just hate the way it feels in my mouth, you know?
For creating these from scratch, but more for putting everything together. It's really the starting part of making a game. Now, since I can't expect you to go shopping for assets at your local supermarket, I've used a bit of TV magic to prepare some beforehand. You can download them for free using the link below. I've bundled together sprites from the amazing Analog Studios and modified them
Wow!
a bit, along with a pixel font, some custom sounds, and a cute little music track. It's also perfectly fine to use other assets you find on the internet. There are many great resources for free assets, just make sure you check the license and give proper credit to the author. CC0 means that the asset is completely free to use and there's no requirement to credit. That being said, making your own assets is one of the places where you can really get creative, and I highly recommend you try it out as soon as you feel comfortable. Remember, you can always use these assets as placeholders and then modify or replace them later. Alright, let's get our assets into Godot. Importing assets in Godot is extremely simple. The file system window is where we have all the files we use in our game. By default, the only thing in here is the Godot icon. So let's create a folder where we can put our assets. Let's right-click, new folder, and name it assets. Let's also make one for scripts and scenes that we can use later. Now we can simply drag and drop our assets into the asset folder. So I'll select the assets folder, open up my assets here. I'm going to select all the subfolders and click and drag them into Godot. And voila, we can now see and use all of our assets in Godot. So now we're ready to make our game. So let's talk about how we do that. To make anything in Godot, we use nodes. If we want to make a player character, we do so by putting together a bunch of nodes. If we want to make an enemy, we do so by putting together nodes. If we want to make a main menu, you guessed it, we use nodes. So nodes are the fundamental building blocks of your game.
Okay.
The nodes come in many types. Some display an image, others play a sound, or add physics. And we can even extend existing
That was some pretty clever editing there.
nodes to build more powerful ones. So in its essence, making a game in Godot is combining and extending nodes to get the result we're looking for. It's a super creative and fun process. But building everything... So in its essence, making a game in Godot is combining and extending nodes to get the result we're looking for. It's a super creative and fun process. But building everything in one big world with nodes for the player, enemies, UI, and a bunch of levels all in one place would quickly become completely unmanageable and confusing. Instead, we use scenes. Scenes allow us to bundle together nodes into reusable packages. A scene can be a character, a weapon, a menu. They can be as small as a single collectible coin, be a character, a weapon, a menu.
Okay.
menu. They can be as small as a single collectible coin or an entire level. Scenes make it really easy to focus on building one part of our game at a time, and then slowly combining them to make our game larger and larger. This is because we can put scenes inside of other scenes, which is called nesting, and allows us to take, say, a player scene, a platform scene, and a collectible coin scene.
Yeah, I don't like that. Why call them scenes? Why not call them like modules or something, you know? You know what I mean?
And put them all inside of another scene, say a level 1 scene. And even cooler, since scenes are reusable, we can make a scene only once and then use it all over our game. We can make many levels that all use the same collectible coin scene. And if we want to change something about our coin, we simply edit the scene and it automatically updates everywhere else. As you can see, all the nodes and scenes in our game start to resemble a tree-like structure. And that's exactly what we call it, the scene tree. And fittingly, we call the node at the very beginning of the tree the root. So now that we know a bit about how Godot works, let's start by making the most essential part of our game, the player character. Player 1.0.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to build the most interesting,
Oh,
fun, yet simple Python
no
project.
way, bro. That's crazy.
So let's create a scene where we'll put everything together. This is going to be a 2D game, so I'll select 2D scene. And let's rename this from Node 2D to Game. And even though it's empty, let's go ahead and save it. So hit Ctrl S, go under Scenes, and let's save it here. And now we can actually play to Game. And even though it's empty, let's go ahead and save it. So hit Ctrl S, go under Scenes, and let's save it here. And now we can actually play our game. It's not going to be very exciting, but let's try it out. So let's hit play up here or simply press F5. It's going to tell us that we haven't selected a main scene. We need to tell Godot which scene to run. I'm just going to press select current, and you can see that our game scene becomes blue to let us know that this is now our main scene.
That's
and as you can see,
crazy,
not much is
bro.
happening here.
Oh,
so let's stop playing
crazy. Sheesh. That's
by
crazy.
hitting the stop icon here or pressing F8. And let's put in a player to make it more exciting. So first off, let's create a new scene by hitting the plus sign up here. And this will be our player scene. And the root node for our player is going to be what is called a character body 2D. So let's add a new node by pressing the plus here or hitting
They're actually called scenes.
Control A. And let's search for character body 2D. As you can see, this is a 2D physics body that is specialized for characters moved by script. So it's perfect for a player character that we want to be able to collide with the environment. So let's hit create. And now we can see our node here, but we can't actually see our player in the scene. So let's add some graphics. Let's add another node. I'm going to hit Control A. And let's search for sprite. And as you can see, we can choose a single sprite, or in our case, we want to create an animated character. So let's choose the animated sprite 2D. Sprites are just what we call images in our 2D world. Now, with this node selected, we can use the inspector here on the right to change properties on that node. If we select a different node, say our character body 2D, we can now see the properties on that node instead.
So which version is this?
Godot. Godot. Whichever you prefer, if you want to use it to make a game, you've come to the right place. I've been making video games for more than 14 years, and recently probably had an FPS. Install it. Work. Press download latest.
Oh.
Godot engine.
4.2.1. Okay, fair.
Characters moved by script. So it's perfect for a player character that we want to be able to collide with the environment. So let's.
This is interesting. This is definitely not what I expected. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I can just copy him here. Scenes. Like what? I don't know. Scenes just seems kind of bad. Also, like is this accelerated? Whoa. I wonder what happens if I go towards the sun. Yeah, I'm never gonna be able to reach. Um, because it's just a skybox. Yeah, I don't know. The sensitivity seems like it varies. Oh, this is kind of a cool interface here. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Kind of a cool viewing. How would I describe this even? Kind of a cool viewing tool, I guess. Okay. Then we do 2D scene. Then we do level. I guess I can just do this to, I can just rename this to level. Then, sure. Sure. What? Why did it not? What? Oh. Um. Can I not remove this from the... Okay, wait. Node. Oh, that's what it does. Okay. Control A. Got it. Got it. Okay. So they're nodes. They're not actually... Um, yeah, they're not actually, whatchamacallit. They're not actually called scenes. Node 2D. So if I want to make another one, no. How do I, what? Hmm. How do I make a new scene now? How do I, wait. If I do this, wait, it doesn't, what? Okay, then if I do this, oh, then it doesn't. Again, what? I'm confused. Oh, it just deleted it twice, actually. The fudge? What in the world? Okay, I guess I'm just trying things out. I'm just trying things out. It had two things in it literally had two of these level.tscn files in my recycle bin for some reason. Uh, delete nodes. Sure. Yeah, delete. Okay. Create root node. So how do I open this though? Oh. Now how do I go back to that? Can I just do this? I can't. No, I can't. Say branch as seen. This is interesting. This is definitely interesting. If I do this, delete the root node level. Can I not make another one? Like, I want to make another root node. Can I not do that? Can I not? Whatever.
Hit create, and now we can see our node here able to collide with.
Oh, oh. I see. There are tabs here for me to put. I see. There are tabs here for me to put new nodes here. They're not called scenes, they're called nodes. What the fuck? Okay. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna save this. Okay, now does that work? Yes, it does. I don't want that though. You know, I'll leave that there just because I may make a 3D game later. I may just try out a 3D game, try to make a 3D game later. Okay, great. So what he does here is he adds a new one, adds a character body 2D. It's not here. Character body 2D. Physics body 2D. Oh, here it is. Sure. This node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. Consider adding a collision shape 2D or collision polygon 2D as a child to define its shape. Oh, I see.
With the environment. So let's hit create, and now we can see our node here, but we can't actually see our player in the scene. So let's add some graphics. Let's add another node. I'm going to hit Control A, and let's search for sprite. And as you can see, we can choose a single sprite, or in our case, we want to create an animated character. So let's choose the animated sprite 2D. Sprites are just what we call images in our 2D world. Now, with this node selected, we can use the inspector here on the right to change properties on that node.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't go over basic controls, but thankfully they're the same as Unity. So, not a big deal, not a big deal. I'm literally picking cat hair off of my fudging socks. Nice.
We select a different node, say our character body 2D, we can now see the properties on that node instead. So our inspector allows us to change things about a node. In our animated sprite 2D, we want to add some animations. And we want to give it some sprite frames, the individual frames that will make up our animation. So let's click here and add a new sprite frames. And now with this selected, we can see that it will open up the sprite frames window at the bottom. And in this window, we're going to press this tiny icon here that lets us add frames from a sprite sheet. So let's click that, go into our assets, under our sprites, let's find our knight.png. And as you can see, I've gone ahead and packed all the different sprite frames of the knight's animation into a single image. This is called a sprite sheet. It's a very efficient way of working with lots of sprites, such as when doing animation. Otherwise, we would have to create an image for each single frame, which would quickly become an unmanageable amount of files. Now, to start adding these frames in, we first need to configure the grid.
I mean, that's how I would do it. Whoops. But this makes more sense.
Here. Currently, it's set to 4 by 4. Let's go ahead and increase this. I've created an 8 by 8 grid here. And as you can see, each frame now has its own grid cell. And let's just start by adding the by 4. Let's go ahead and increase this. I've created an 8 currently. Now to start adding these frames in, we first need to configure the grid here. Currently it's set to 4 by 4. Let's go ahead and increase this. I've created an 8 by 8 grid here. And as you can see, each frame now has its own grid cell. And let's just start by adding the idle animation. To do this, we simply click the frames in the order that we would like. So I'm going to go from the left-hand side here and click. As you can see, it says this to 0, the first frame. Then I'm going to click the next one and the next one and the next one. And now it goes from 0 to 3 and we'll play from left to right.
Wait.
We can always click again to remove.
That's actually really easy to do. What? Wait, that's actually so easy. Like, this seems way easier than any other animation, any other kind of sprite animation that I know.
Remove. And this.
But to be fair, I don't know about any of them. I really don't know about any sprite animation software. So never mind.
This is how you can quickly build an animation from different parts of your sprite sheet. So I'll select these 4 frames and hit Add Frames. Now let's hit F to center our character on the screen. And I'm going to use the scroll wheel to zoom in. We can also click and drag with the middle mouse button to pan.
Okay,
now our
nice.
character
There
looks weirdly blurry. That's because we're working with pixel art, which requires really hard edges. By default, Godot is going to try to do some texture smoothing to make textures look better, but applied to pixel art, that is definitely not the case. So let's simply disable this. So let's go to Project, Project Settings. Let's go under Rendering to Textures. And here on the default texture filter, let's change this from linear to nearest, which will immediately make our pixel art look crisp. Then we can select our animated sprite, and let's try playing the animation. That looks great. I'm going to increase the FPS here to 10 to make it go a bit faster.
What the fuck? Wait, that's so easy. That's insanely easy.
So going to rename the animation here to idle. I'm going to enable autoplay to make sure it plays right when we start the game. And finally, I'm going to take the sprite here and move it up to make it kind of stand on this line. And that's it for our graphics for now. We'll add more animations later. But as you can see, we're currently getting this warning here in the scene view. And if I hover over it, it's going to say that this node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. And this is because a character body 2D is a physics node. And whenever we're working with physics, we need to define a shape that the physics engine can work with. So let's add a new node. I'm going to press the plus sign here. I'm going to search for collision shape 2D, hit create. And here in the inspector, we can now define a new shape. I'm going to add a circle shape. I'm going to make this a bit smaller and drag it up. Somewhere around there looks fine. Now you're probably thinking, well, this is pretty far from our actual graphics, but that's totally fine. Colliders rarely need to be very precise, and it's a good rule of thumb to make them a bit smaller than the graphics if you need to. Having colliders that are too large is simply going to be frustrating when playing. So let's now rename the top node here to player. And let's save the scene, Ctrl S, as player, hit save. And now we can go into our game scene and simply drag our player in here. So I'm going to go to the top here and drag in the player. We also need to create a camera so that we can control what is currently being shown. So let's add a new node, hit Ctrl A, search for camera 2D, hit create. And now if we press F, we can see that we have this huge camera viewport. This is definitely currently too large, so let's zoom in on our camera. I'm going to set the zoom here to 4 by 4. and simply click and drag our camera to be on top of the player. And now we can try playing our game. And there you go. We now have a player that is playing an idle animation and nothing else is happening. That's because we need to add a script that allows us to move around. So let's close our game, go into our player scene, and with our player node selected, let's press this Add Script button. Here we can choose a template. Of course, we're going to do some programming in this video, but writing player movement can quickly become a bit overwhelming. So for now, we'll use the basic movement template provided by Godot. Then later, we'll go in and modify it to play different animations and rebind input to the keys we'd like to use. As for the path here, I'm going to make sure that we put this inside of our scripts folder, and let's just name it player. Let's hit create. And as you can see, this creates a script that will move around our character.
I love this.
I know that this might look really confusing at
I love this, bro. I love how there's not an external IDE. I love that so much, bro. Thank God.
first, but don't worry, we'll have a look at what all this means later.
Like
For now,
it's so annoying to have to Alt-Tab. It's so annoying. And to have to, oh, double-click my script, and then it opens in Visual Studio. Crazy. Like, it's annoying. It is annoying. I'm sure this IDE is not as, let's say, user-friendly as Unity or as Visual Studio, but I'm sure I can. I can figure it out. And really, honestly, that should be the end of this episode. I haven't even downloaded his stuff in the description, and I'm probably just going to do that just for the tutorial. I'm probably going to do that just for the tutorial. I don't need to say just twice. But I will do that on Monday. And you, that should have been episode 20 of me learning game development. And you guys will all see me on Tuesday. Yeah, I will probably be rewatching this video like multiple times over the course of the next 10 or 20 episodes. So it doesn't really matter about, yeah, it doesn't really matter if I just leave the video at this part, because I will be reviewing it many, many times. All right, that's it for this episode. Episode 20, I already said that. And thank you for watching.